In activity number 6, you got an introduction to what is a gerund, and we talked about different jobs that they can do. So today we're going to just practice reading some sentences and identifying them in sentences. And we're only looking for just this one single word. We'll talk more later about verbs, gerund phrases, but for now we're just going to do a gerund by itself. And so we're looking for a verb that ends in ing. And it acts like a noun, meaning that it's either being a subject in a sentence. A predicate nominative is another way to say a predicate noun. A direct object, an indirect object, or object of a preposition. And you'll see in here they're really not going to talk about appositives, so that's one less that you need to worry about right now. So in the example, you'll see that they're underlining the gerund, the verb that ends in ing, and trying to figure out what job it's doing. Okay, so you might want your other copy of notes out if you need some help. I would anticipate that you don't quite know how to find a direct object or indirect object without it. I'll do a little review as we go through them, but it might be a good idea for you to have your notes out. So direct objects and indirect objects both go with action verbs. With a direct object, we look for those first and we answer the question whom or what after our action verb. And then if we still have a direct object, another word between the indirect object and action verb, then we look for an indirect object. And the question we ask for that is to whom or what, for whom or what. And then predicate nominatives go with linking verbs, okay? And they go back and rename the subject. So our first sentence here says jogging is the verb that ends in ing, and it's pretty easy to figure out what job it's doing because it's the very first word in the sentence and it doesn't look like there's a transition. Jogging is an excellent exercise. So number 1, I'm looking for the verb that ends in ing, and that would be stargazing. So now I have to figure out what is stargazing doing in the sentence. So I would go through my process. I'd highlight prepositional phrases. I don't see any. So I would look at what's the subject. The subject looks like it's a pastime. And we've got some modifiers for the pastime, my pastime, my favorite pastime. And I see a verb all by itself. And I remember from my jobs of nouns talking about linking verbs. So it's a linking verb all by itself. And if I have a linking verb, then I know that I have a predicate noun after it. The predicate noun, stargazing, goes back and renames what my pastime is. And I could switch that. Stargazing is my favorite pastime. My favorite pastime is stargazing. Now you might sometimes think that is stargazing is a verb phrase. And that really wouldn't make sense because a pastime doesn't have eyeballs and it can't stargaze. So it can't be doing that action. All right, number 2. After Dad and I grew tired of shopping, we went to a movie. I'm going to look for my verb that ends in ing, and that looks like it's shopping. And I'm going to go through my process of looking for the job. So I'm going to start with a prepositional phrase, and I see to a movie. And I see of shopping, and I can tell right away the job that shopping is doing in that sentence is the object of the preposition because it's at the end of the prepositional phrase. So for our purposes right now, I don't really need to do anything else. I figured out its job. So I would have you try number 3 on your own and then come back to the screencast and check it. Do you enjoy fishing? The gerund is fishing. It's the only verb that ends in ing. And I know that fish by itself can be a noun, but it can also be a verb. I like to fish. Okay, so I'm using it as a verb. So now I need to go find my prepositional phrases. I don't see any, so I know it's not doing the object of the preposition. So now I'm going to look for the subject. Who's the sentence about? It's about you. And what do? You enjoy. I have to think, is enjoy an action verb or a linking verb? Well, I know my linking verbs. It's not one of the 18 linking verbs, so it's got to be an action verb. And since I have an action verb, I'm going to look first for a direct object by answering the question whom or what. You enjoy what? You enjoy fishing. So fishing must be the direct object. Okay, again, pause the screencast, go try number 4, and then come back and check it. I see a verb with ing, teaching. So I'm going to look for a prepositional phrase. I don't see any. So now I'm going to go look for my subject, and the subject is teaching. That's what this sentence is about. So I'm done with that one. Number 5, on my essay, my teacher wrote, you should give careful proofreading more attention. So I'm going to go look for a verb that ends in ing, and I see proofreading. So to figure out its job, I'm going to start with looking for prepositional phrases. And I see on my essay. And I don't see any more. Now this looks like a quote, so I'm going to focus just on the part that's in between the quotes, because I know I know there will be a subject and a verb over here, but I just want to worry about this part. So I'm going to look for my subject. Subject is you. And what about you? You should give. So should give is my action verb. I know that give is an action. So now I'm going to look for my direct object. You should give whom or what. What are you giving? You're giving attention. And since there are some words between my action verb and direct object, I'm going to ask, give my attention to whom or what am I giving attention? I'm giving attention to proofreading. So that's my indirect object. Now I see some other words in here. More looks like it's an adjective. It's describing how much attention? More attention. Careful as well. It's describing proofreading. What kind of proofreading? Careful proofreading. So those are just adjectives. So my job of my gerund is an indirect object. All right, pause the screencast. Go try number 6. Either team has a good chance of winning. The verb in the sentence is winning with an ing. So now I'm going to go look for my job. I'm going to look for any prepositions. And I see of. Of what? Of winning. And since my gerund is part of that, it's got to be doing the job of the object of the preposition. Number 7, laughing easily helps relieve stress. I see a verb that ends in ing, laughing. So I'm going to go through and look for any phrases to get rid of. I see to relieve. I know that's an infinitive. So now I'm going to go find my subject. What is the sentence about? It's about laughing. Number 8, I am not looking forward to moving. Now in this sentence, I see 2 verbs. I see looking and moving. Only one of them is a gerund. So I need to think a little bit more about this one. So I'm not going to make a decision quite yet. I'm going to go through and I'm going to look for any prepositions or infinitives. Now I see to moving. I know moving isn't a verb here because I can't say I'm moving tomorrow or I'm moving next week. It would need a helping verb in front of it. And so to moving must be a prepositional phrase, which tells me that moving must be the object of the preposition. It's not doing the job of a verb here. Over here, I've got I am the subject, and what am I doing? I'm looking, or in this case, not looking. So that's being used as a verb, and I know it because it's got the helping verb in front of it, am looking. So moving is my gerund, and it's doing the job of object of a preposition. Number 9, the puppy's constant whimpering worried us. So I see the verb that ends in ing is whimpering. So I'm going to look for any prepositional phrases, and I don't see any. I'm not really sure about the subject here. I see puppy, but I know we've talked about that if there's an apostrophe S It's not a noun anymore. It's describing something. What is puppies describing or owning? Puppies own the whimpering. Well, if it's describing whimpering, then whimpering must be the subject of the sentence. And then the last one I'm going to do with you, and then you're going to try this on your own. The babysitter talked to the children about the importance of sharing. So I'm going to look for my verb that ends in ing, and it is sharing. So now I have to go look for my phrases. I see to the children, about the importance of sharing. So since sharing is at the end of the prepositional phrase, that's the job it's doing. Okay, so I'm going to finish 11 through 20, and then you're going to go do the exit ticket. And the exit ticket, it's just going to ask you, what was the gerund? Stargazing. What was its job? Predicate noun. Watch your spelling. The word is right here for you, so make sure you spell it correctly when you retype it. If you have any questions or need help, make sure you come ask.